Alright, we're back for the fourth and final round, and our hand looks pretty good. Probably going to lead Elf into Carroted Tapland into Pelucranos, maybe? Alright, well, Blue-Black Control. Maybe he's playing Sheen Serrani's list, or maybe Ali Antrazi's list from Columbus, or Chihoy likes to play control decks in general, so he might have worked on a little bit and changed it a little bit. Sheen's deck was Esper though, so we'll figure out pretty quick if he's playing another color or not. His hand is not fantastic against a control deck. We do have a lot of mana accelerators, so we're going to be a little vulnerable to sweeper effects. Thoughts he's likely going to take Eidolon, but if he doesn't have like a downfall or something, he might take Pelucranos. We'll wait and see what happens. Alright, he took Eidolon Blossoms. I would assume he's leading with another land, Pluto Delta. Alright, well, in order to not get ranched by a Drown in Sorrow, we are going to play a Sylvan Keratin instead of a Voyaging Satyr. Tap land. I'm assuming my first Pelucranos is going to die, so I'm just going to keep that one. It could be a mistake. If he just kills our Elvish Mystic, we might not be able to cast our spells. But we're just going to cast Pelucranos number 1, and assume it's going to get countered or killed. This matchup is not great. They have a lot of discard and a lot of removal in Dig Through Time, and our deck is not fantastic at putting pressure on people. We basically just try to build, our board position, and their deck generally keeps us from doing that. Alright, well at least we have all the black mana we want now. Uh-oh. Perilous Vault. That stinks. Alright, well, we're going to attack for 1, and I guess play a Voyaging Satyr. Maybe play 2 Voyaging Satyrs? I don't really know what to do. I know if I put Pelucranos, he's just going to blow it up immediately, but he might not. Maybe I actually just want him to blow it up immediately, because otherwise, I'm never going to be able to put pressure on him, and he might not have a land that comes into play untapped. And if that's the case, then maybe we can, well, okay. Well, yeah. Well, he had an untapped land. He's just going to go ahead and main phase, kill everything, which is fine. Just going to play a Voyaging Satyr too. Yeah, wish I had that last turn. I would have gotten a Reclamation Sage and blown up his thing. We're in a lot of trouble now. Light on lands. Another Perilous Vault. Well, we can't quite blow that up right this moment. But if we get enough mana in play, we can do something at the end of his turn. I'm just going to go ahead and play Doomwake Giant again. Force him to blow it if he wants to, and if he doesn't, then we can put some pressure on him. Perilous Vault's almost always going to 2-for-1 us in game 1, if not 3-for-1 us, since if we're not actually putting any pressure on him, he doesn't have to blow it up. And that leaves him free to use his mana to do other things, like start casting his digs or divinations or what have you. Now if he taps out here for something, we may just go ahead and Court of Calling for the Reclamation Sage, but his deck does not tap out very much. Would not be surprised if he just main phase Perilous Vaulted again. Alright, well, I don't feel like we're going to Court of Calling. I'm going to play the Nykthos, and I think I'm just going to attack with a Doomwake, and if he Dig Through Time's end of turn, then I will, then I'll Court of Calling, but I need to leave the Voyaging Satyr back to do so. Callie makes a good point. He could have Prolic Ancient. If that's the case, I think I'm okay with that. Okay. Well, I have a feeling it's going to be a dig through time, so we're just going to let him do that. Nope, Perilous Vault. So I guess we're going to float mana and go get a Courser. Well, that was silly. I took a damage for no reason. Could have floated a green instead of a colorless. Playing a little too fast. Hopefully the 1 life doesn't come back to matter. So we're going to let this resolve, and then Court of Calling for 3. It's possible we should wait on that. Oh, I guess Freak is actually pretty good here. We have 2 guys in the yard, and if we draw an Eidolon of Blossoms, that could be sweet. He's already used 2 Perilous Vaults, so he's got to find 1 more before he can really deal with Freaka. Every creature he kills from now on, or counters, will turn into a guy. So that's neat. Basically just want to draw all the Eidolon of Blossoms possible. As long as he doesn't have a dig through time in hand, we're actually okay. But him main pheasing this fetch here means that he probably does have the dig, and he's just casting it now, looking for an Ashiok or something similar. We could have gotten Courser, but we were already in the end step, and I felt like that wasn't going to be able to win us the game or anything, and long-term Freaka might have that ability, so. I also wanted to go ahead and court there too in case he thought sees me in a turn or two, since courting for 3 is much more relevant than court for 2. Just Hydra for 3? I think I can wait on it. I'm just gonna play a Voyaging Satyr, make a 1/1 at the end of turn. Start getting my beats on. Beats by Dre. Hilariously enough, if we just Hydra into a double green creature next turn, and he doesn't have a counterspell or removal spell, that will turn on Freaka. Alright. Come on, Chihoi. Come on, buddy. Alright, make a guy, untap. Draw something sweet. Oh, that's not great. We're gonna go ahead and thin our deck a little bit and make a big Genesis Hydra. Alright, X equals 5. Let's see what we get. Arbor Colossus, Eidolon of Blossoms? Okay. Well, at least we get to shuffle these. They're not all going to the bottom, but I'm probably just going to take the Eidolon of Blossoms since we are potentially drawing a couple extra cards off of the Freaka with it. Now he either have 2 removal spells for the Eidolon and the Genesis Hydra, or just like a counterspell and a removal spell. Or Jace's Ingenuity, digging for such things. Ooh, and we drew an Arbor Colossus. Sweet. And Freaka turns on. Man, get them beats. Beats by Farik Dre. Dre Rika. Well, I can't imagine one of my guys is going to survive through combat and then my Freak is going to deal damage, but if it does, I will be elated. But which one do you kill, Chihoi? Which one do you kill? Alright, kill the Dennis Hydra. That means he's probably going to drown in sorrow the rest of my guys. Or is it just such a low life total that he needed to kill the 5/5 instead? No, and he has a Thoughtseize. He's got so many cards in hand. Maybe they're all lands, but I doubt it. Bile-Blight? That's great. Now we have so many creatures in the yard, we can just go crazy with Farika. And luckily his Urborg gives us a lot more black mana, so we don't actually have to take any damage. No, don't play Pearl Lake Agent. Alright, well, luckily Pearl Lake Ancient can't really block snakes too well since they have Death Touch, unless he wants to bounce his lands every turn, which I'm fine with. Since I'm not casting anything next turn, I think I'm just going to hold the Windswept Teeth in case I draw a Courser. I feel like we probably can't win this game, but the cool thing about Moto is that your opponent has to beat you in the allotted time. And I mean, if we were like using real life clock, I don't think I would concede at this point, you know, because the Farika is pretty good here, and we do have like 5 creatures in the graveyard, and he has to beat all of these. Bile-Blight is probably one of the cards he's looking for, but we're rarely going to put more than 2 snakes into play at once, I think, just because we don't want to get them all Bile-Blighted. Unless he taps out. But yeah, no attacks from him. I guess that means he doesn't have the Bile-Blight, since he didn't attack. YOLO. Still got 2 more, and every creature we draw is basically 2 threats, so I'm just going to make a bunch of dudes. And I am just going to go ahead and fetch. I guess it's not worth it really to keep it around for a Courser right now. Sylvan Caryatid. BattleBots. I'm going to feel like a fool if he does have Bile-Blight, but assume he's just going to block, bounce Pearl Lake Ancient, and recast it. He's going to gain some life off of his stupid land. He's going to take 3. He's going to gain 2 and recast it. We'll go ahead and play this Sylvan Caryatid as a chump blocker / fuel for the fire for Farika. Oh no, he must have drawn Perilous Vault. Well, he bounced enough lands where he can't actually cast and activate it this turn, so that's nice. But maybe he drew Bile-Blight. I think I just have to go for it. Didn't have it last turn. Didn't even play the 2-mana land and was scrying, looking for it, I guess. So it leads me to believe he's just going to cast Pearl Lake Ancient here and block. Or not. Huh. Well, I guess I got too greedy. Just trying to kill him, though. Once he starts resolving Dig Through Times and has Pearl Lake Ancient, it's pretty hard to win. So we just got to be desperate about it, I think. But beating Pearl Lake Ancient is pretty tough. There's a reason it costs 7 mana. But we got a couple chump blockers. So I'm going to go ahead and make another guy. And he didn't play his Urborg because he wants me to take damage to make guys, which is pretty smart. And he also wanted to gain life with his fountain. And now we're flooding out. Can't all be like Brad Nelson and quadruple lightning strike our opponent when they're beating us down with a Pearl Lake Ancient. Another Pearl Lake Ancient? Or take their time. Alright. I will say Chihoi's deck looks pretty sweet. Hopefully the matchup gets a little better after board when we have Nissa, since Nissa is pretty good against Perilous Vault, as it does not kill the lands that it turns into creatures. Yeah, I mean, his hand's probably super stocked, but we're gonna keep playing it out here. Maybe we can get out of it. Just run his deck out. Yeah, that's another Perilous Vault. That's pretty good. Alright, we are not going to attack with a snake, so because he could bounce his Pearl Lake Ancient, activate Perilous Vault, which I guess that is what he's going to do, and then recast it. I guess we could have attacked. There's not much difference. He would have been at one less life. Alright, well, that was the third Perilous Vault off of the Dig Through Times and stuff. Pretty easy for him to find at this point in the game. His deck's getting really thinned out from polluted deltas and stuff. Alright, force on bottom. Don't have downfall. Murder's cut. I guess it's not downfall. Alright, well, we're basically dead. Our freak is gone. His hand is probably stacked with a bunch of removal and counter spells. But we're gonna make him kill us, because that's what we do. Courser. Making his life harder. Elf. That's not gonna do anything. Oh, another Dig Through Time, Chihoi? Is that all you got? Oh, another Pearl Lake Ancient. That's a little bit better. Yeah, okay. We did. Alright, let's go to sideboarding. Maybe we can squeak off one of these games and then make him run out of time. Best way to beat Chihoi, in my opinion, is making him run out of time. That's great. Alright, we got 7 cards that can come in. Nissa's, I guess technically 9 if you want to Doomwake and whatever, but Hornet Queen just feels real bad in this matchup. Costs 7. All the things you can get off of, or all the tokens it makes die to Drown in Sorrow, which he almost certainly has after board. The Doomwakes feel pretty bad since he has virtually no creatures, just a 5-mana 4/6, which I guess might not be terrible, but at the same time, it's just not fantastic. And I think we're going to cut Voyaging Satyr just to mitigate the chances of getting blown out by Drown in Sorrow. The Reclamation Sages will also die to Drown, but we can cast them early just to get some pressure on him if we really want to. But you know, he's going to cast Perilous Vault on like turn 4 or 5 sometimes, and if we catch him doing that, we can blow it up and save all of our stuff later on. Alright, game 2. This hand is not very good, but we have a scry. I think I'm going to keep it. The game's going to go super long. The Court of Calling is really awesome, and the fact that his deck has so many hand disruption spells means that I'd much rather have a threat dense hand than a threat light hand against him. And Elvish Mystic right on top. That's what I like to see. It's possible we actually should have cut a land, Nykthos here being probably the worst land for us, since he is going to be making us discard a bunch. And killing all our stuff. Basically, then I would be surprised if Nykthos got to ever activate for more than a colorless mana. suppose my goal in this matchup is to just try to apply some pressure to him and have Court of Calling like sitting back. I don't really want to chord for 1, but maybe that just sort of helps me chain chords to no, that's bad. I don't really want to chord for 1. I don't want to get Bile Blighted. If he has Bile Blight, he'd probably cast on an elf anyway just to slow me down, but another Nykthos. Alright, I will chord for 2 to get Sylvan Carroted, since we do have 2 more chords, and I really want to be able to chord for something and then start attacking and hold a chord up for if he plays a sweeper effect. It's probably not great. Wish I had something like Strangerroot Geist or something. That'd be great. But can't always have what we want. I can't imagine he would counter this, since we have a reasonable amount of mana already. Could just get a... Ooh, actually no, that's way better. I'm gonna Brain Maggot. I'm gonna see what's up over there. Force him to use a removal spell. I forgot I brought that guy in. Now he can kill it in response, and I don't get a card from him, but we are trading, you know, the removal spell for the card, but we get to see his hand, and we get to see what we're up against, and how to play around it, if we can play around it, you know. And if he uses a downfall, that is great. I wish it was Mesmeric Fiend. Mesmeric Fiend's way better. Alright, well, he's got a pretty decent hand against us, but we can chord now for 3. Get a Courser. I think we should do that. I gotta tap one of these for a green so we can do that. We have to burn our Nykthos, but like I said, we're not really going to be Nykthosing for too much in this matchup. And since he has the stroke, we want to get the Courser into play now since he doesn't have a removal spell. I guess we could get Freak into play now. That actually sounds pretty sweet. But Courser, I really want to make sure I can draw live spells over the next few turns. And he doesn't have a spell removal spell in hand at the moment, so that's good. He obviously could draw it, or like a Dig Through Time or something. And if he Drown in Sorrows these 2, you know, I figured that was going to happen. I guess we could have not played the Elvish Mystic. That was probably a mistake. They're not entirely relevant at the moment, though. Alright, well that Maggot might actually end up being pretty good. We can play that next turn and take his Disdainful Stroke, maybe Court of Calling. Potentially we could just take his Pearl Lake Ancient. Just depends. It's all relative. Well, fetching here means that he probably drew a Delve spell. Let's see what it is. Treasure Cruise or Dig Through Time? Yep. That's gross. We are not in great shape. So at the very least, we're going to get to see what's up next turn. We might be able to catch him without a real removal spell. And I might actually just have to take its Pearl Lake Ancient, since it can come down in a turn or 2, depending on if he hits a land off of the Dig Through Time, if he wants to. Looks like he does want to. Courser. Actually, since he has that Urborg, we can just tap this dead Nykthos for black. Alright. Prolic Ancient dissolve, stroke, stroke. Sorry. Yeah, we're just gonna take the Prolic Ancient. And just attack him a bunch, I guess. Hope he just never draws a removal spell. We can keep playing our spells, though. And if he ever taps out for anything, we can play our Court of Calling. Alright, well, he drew a Dismal Backwater. I assume he's going to dissolve this. We could have potentially not played any spells, you know, and played around, or, like, kept him from being able to scry one, but scry one is okay, but I'd much rather just, like, fight through his counter spells eventually, you know. So he scryed to the bottom. Perilous Vault. Well, that stinks. Well, he's not going to Disdainful Stroke our Arbor Colossus, but he might. We can force him at least to Disdainful Stroke the Court of Calling, and if he doesn't, we get to blow up the Perilous Vault. So we're going to float one. Keep the new Nykthos. If he uses Stroke on this, that's fine. We get it out of his hand. He's probably going to blow up these two, and then next turn, he basically has to counter the... I guess we can lead with Eidolon. Man, I wish I'd hit a land there. Sylvan Carrot is not what I wanted. And we can't even really play anything, because he's just going to use the Vault, so... Just let him use the vaults, untap and counter our thing, blah blah blah. This matchup's pretty bad, feels like. Our Arbor Colossus can get bigger than his Prolic Ancient, but he does still have the counterspell in hand. But he only has 7 mana, so he can't counter and play it. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just try to resolve this while I can, and he'll... Oh, he might counter it. He might just play Prolic Ancient, untap, and kill it. But the longer we can hold off Prolic Ancient, the better, I suppose. Alright, well now I guess we can play Eidolon. If it doesn't resolve, we can play Carroted. I feel like I'm just treading water now. Alright, well, I'm going to assume he's going to play Ancient, maybe a Drown afterwards or something. If we draw a Pharika, we have a lot of creatures in the yard, and hopefully he doesn't have another counterspell for it. We've already played all 3 of our Court of Callings, which kind of stinks, so we have to naturally draw our Pharika if we want to be able to stem the bleeding for too long. Yep, let's take a big smack from Prolic Ancient. He's going to Bile Blight our Eidolon before damage, putting us to 11. Well, if this resolves, that was a really good draw. Can't imagine it's going to, though. Wow. Well, that was pretty sweet. And we can even protect our Nissa from the Pergolake Ancient attack with our Sylvan Caryatid. Unless he goes double Drown in Sorrow. Jason Ingenuity, that's also pretty good. Yeah, the prowess on Pergolake Ancient is actually something people kind of forget about. It has so many abilities. Flash can't be countered, prowess, and you can bounce it. Yeah, well, we're gonna block. Feels like a no-brainer. I assume that he's going to downfall or something on the Nissa, but maybe not. He could also float 7 and then recast the Pergolake Ancient and block and not be dead. And go to 1. So what we can do is just make a 4/4. I think we actually just pass since he can block. What this lets us do is we can either double block and save our Nissa, or if he kills one, we can just like single block and keep our Nissa alive and maybe draw another creature to block next turn while we're attacking. But we could put him at 1, but he can just block and then untap and kill Nissa. So I think I'm gonna try to double block. It's unlikely that this works, but it's basically the same as a single block, since if he has a removal spell, and we do want to try to keep our Nissa alive. If we can ultimate eventually, that would be great. I don't expect that to happen. It takes so long to ultimate Nissa. Bile-Blight. Well, there's only one of those named Lenore Waste, but that will make his guy big enough to kill our 2 lands. But we can basically jump block forever because we have so many lands in play. Elvish Mystic. And he can still bounce and block, so there's still very little reason for us to attack. I think here our out is to just try to ultimate, and we're just going to chump block as much as possible. Well, looks like an end of turn dig. Probably going to be able to find a downfall in the top 7. Not to sound like too much of a pessimist or anything. I just know when I'm in a bad spot. Yeah. In the words of Callie Panderson, this is a terrible matchup. There's the downfall. My dreams of ultimating Nissa are over. Thanks, Chihoy. Jerk. Well, Callie asked why he didn't just kill Nissa, and it's likely that he has another removal spell in hand. And he's just trying to get max value. Like, I assumed he was actually going to kill the Mystic and attack and kill Nissa, but I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what's going on right now. Yeah, he just has another downfall. Getting a free roll chump block, basically. Nissa is really good against this deck on like turn 4. Not really great on turn 7 or 8. And we're basically dead. Freak off the top to get hit with a Perilous Vault. Alright, that's the game. If only we could have won this game, we could have timed him out, but in real life that's not a thing, so whatever. Alright, well we ended up 3-1 with a sweet deck and only lost to the big jerk-face Chihoy Yem playing blue-black control. It was a pretty fun match. Learned a lot about the deck, learned that the control matchup is tough. I don't really know if there's a whole lot that these colors can do to mitigate that. One thing I do want to try with this deck, and you guys can chime in if you like, I would love to play a second splash color, like a third color, either red for something like Xenagos the Reveler, or potentially white for something like a Johnny, and adding that other color doesn't seem like it'd be that hard since we do have access to Windswept Heaths as our dual land, or as our fetch land, and or wooded foothills, and that would give us a few more planeswalkers that would be good against control decks. Obviously, still lacking a little against Perilous Vault. The problem is that there's no real answer to Perilous Vault in this format. You can have a disenchant effect, but it doesn't really do that much. Like we had a bunch of Reclamation Sages and Court of Callings, and we just never had a spot where we could really get it into play to actually kill it. So put an emphasis, if you play this deck, on finding a way to beat the control matchups. I will be working on that myself over the next few days. But yeah, that's going to be all for me. Thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you next week.